All right, hello everyone. If you are watching this, I appreciate it. That means you are enrolled in my Accounting 2 online class here at JCCC. And what I'm going to do with this class period, obviously there's nobody here, okay? Normally there will be students here. But in this very first class period, I want to go over some of the policies and procedures for the class. And they're slightly different for you, the online student, than they are for the folks that you'll see in the next lecture who are taking it face-to-face. So they've already had their introduction to the class, and it was done off camera. This one is just for you, the Accounting 2 online student. Now, first of all, if you're thinking, oh, I can just skip this lecture and go on to the next one, do not, okay? You need to watch this lecture in its entirety, because I know the questions that you ask and I will do my very best to answer those, okay? Now there's actually going to be this lecture, and I'll also do a separate lecture, not in this studio. It'll just be on Camtasia where you hear my voice, where I'm going to walk you through how we use D2L, which stands for Desire to Learn, how we use that website in this class. So there's sort of two introductory lectures for Accounting 2 online. There's this one, and then there's the Navigating D2L for Accounting 2, and I will send you that URL. All right? Now, I am very glad you're taking this Accounting 2 online class. I think you're going to find it is probably different than the other online classes that you've taken, unless, of course, you took Accounting 1 online from me. But what we are going to have is, like I said, normally there'll be students here. I will do lecturing here. They will ask questions. I'll answer those questions. Occasionally, I'll take a break and we'll work on something in class. When we do that, I want you at home to work on it as well. And then we'll come back and I'll go over the answer, maybe lecture a little bit more. And then at the end of each lecture, I assign paper and pencil homework. And I want these folks and I want you to do that paper and pencil homework before you watch the next lecture, okay? Probably at the beginning of the next lecture is when I'm going to go over that homework, okay? And these people will ask questions about it, and it should be very, very helpful to you. So, in other words, for example, at the end of lecture 205, I'm going to assign homework. Make sure you do that paper and pencil and homework before you do lecture number 206, okay? Now, this sort of a format is a great online class for the following person. Number one, I assume that you truly want to learn the subject, okay? This is not a good class for somebody who says, you know, I don't want to take accounting. I really don't care about learning this subject. I want something that's just quick and easy and in and out. And I just want to, you know, I want to do the whole course in a weekend. That's not this class, okay? I always make the assumption that my students truly want to learn the subject. And I know that there are online classes out there that have a reputation of they're very easy and you could do them in 3 or 4 days. This is not one of those. So if you're looking for something like that, this won't be it. This is a great format, though, for people who truly want to learn the subject and almost wish that maybe their schedules would afford them to be able to come to a face-to-face classroom. In a way, it's going to be like you are sitting in this classroom, okay? Just like you are a student here, but you can watch these lectures at your own convenience, okay? So I get a lot of emails from people who really like this format. There's obviously a lot of effort by me and the crew to prepare these, but I think they'll work very, very well with your schedule. We're taping this in fall of 2014. People have been asking for years for us to do Accounting 2 in this format, and we're finally doing it. So this is not a good class, too, for people if you are a procrastinator, okay? If you take online classes, you have to have some discipline, okay? Because I'm not going to be there to see you, or if you don't come to class, I won't know. If you're not watching the lectures, I won't know. If you're not doing your homework, I don't know. So you could throw your books behind your couch and not touch it for 3 weeks, but you're going to have a very difficult time doing well in this class. Hey, you've taken Accounting 1 before. You know it's a building block course, and you need to keep up with it, okay? Now, how we're going to do this, like I said, normally there'll be students here. You'll watch the video lecture. You'll do whatever we do in class. I'll assign paper and pencil homework at the end that you'll do for the next one. Let me talk a little bit about the sequencing of these lectures. This was lecture number 201, okay? It's the first lecture for Accounting 2 Online. The next one will be 202, then 203, 204, okay? I did that so it would be very clear for my Accounting 1 sequencing of number 1, number 2, number 3, number 4, okay? I don't want people to get mixed up. So just make sure you watch each lecture in its entirety. You can't skip them, okay? What I want to make sure of, I have emailed you this most likely several times. This is also listed on the JCCC class when you do a search for a class. But you are required to come to the JCCC campus in person to take your tests, okay? I know a lot of online classes, you take your tests on your computer, sitting in your pajamas, whenever you want. They're usually open book. You do not do that in this class, okay? So hopefully this is not the first time you're becoming aware of this. But let me be real clear. You come, we have 3 tests and a final exam, and we'll talk about this. So for a total of 4 times, you have to come to the JCCC campus to take your paper and pencil exam. And it's closed book. It's just like a regular exam, okay? Now, I give you a window of time that you can take that, and we'll talk about that here in just a little bit. But up front, before we go through anything, I want to make sure that you are aware of that, okay? All right, let's go ahead and take a look. I have emailed you a syllabus, and you can also find it on the D2L website. This is kind of a generic syllabus. So I didn't put the semester on this because I want to use this introductory video lecture for a number of semesters and years. So get out your syllabus that you got through the website or through my email, and you can kind of take a look at this, but this will help us kind of know where we are. As I said, this is Accounting 2. I have an office here at JCCC in OCB 257F, and there's my phone number. If you need to call me, please email me through D2L on the web. And I will show you in that separate lecture on navigating D2L for this course, I'll show you exactly how to do that, okay? I'm not going to read through everything, but let's at least highlight certain things. Even though this is an online class, I do have office hours. I will email those to you because they change every semester. But I am happy to work with you in regarding to find a time that will fit your schedule. So just email me. We can set up a time if my office hours that I email you don't work, okay? Now you need to have taken Accounting 1, and you need to have earned, I should say, a C grade or higher to move on to Accounting 2, okay? So you need to have taken Accounting 1. Let's talk about the textbook that we will use for this class. The textbook you will use looks like this, all right? I'm going to hold it up, okay? And let me just lay it on the Elmo here. I'm not sure how much you can see it with the glare, okay? But this is it. Make sure it says Accounting 122, okay? Make sure it's the 21st edition, but it should say Fundamental of Accounting Principles. It's by Wildshaw and Chiapetta, 21st edition, okay? Make sure it has this blue border. The Accounting 1 book for JCCC looks very similar, except it has a red border. If you have that book, you have the wrong book. So make sure this is the book you have. It should say Accounting 122, 21st edition, okay? Now, there is a chance that your book might look a little differently, okay? If you bought it used or something, all right? This is the book that I have. It looks similar, but again, it says Fundamental Accounting Principles Volume 2, Chapters 12 through 25, 21st edition. Okay? All right, I hope you bought your book through the JCCC bookstore. If you did, it had shrink wrap around it. And on the shrink wrap, it actually had a little sticker like this. Take a look at this. And this says, package includes a required access code. And then you can't return it if the package has been opened. Okay? So what they are talking about is a card that looks like this. Let me put that down here for you to look at. Okay? It looks like this, and this is what is called Connect. Connect is an online tool where you will do assignments. They are worth points for the class. You submit them. You can use your book on those if you'd like, and then you get immediate feedback. Okay? It is worth points in this class. It is required. Okay? But again, looking at this card, let's flip it over. What it will give you is it'll give you an access code. Okay? And you just take a coin and scratch that off, and that'll have your code. Okay? You need this for the class. Make sure that when you buy this book, it has that little orange dot on it that says it has an access code. Sometimes this is not found on the first page. Sometimes it'll be 6 or 7 pages into it. So make sure you have that. It is required for this class. Okay? We don't use work papers for this class. If you took Accounting 1, you might have had to purchase separate work papers that were kind of templates and general ledgers and that sort of thing. We don't do that. Okay? I will be emailing you information through D2L. You need to be checking your email, and you need to be looking at your content browser on the D2L website. Okay? So make sure you're doing that, and again, watch the lecture that is specifically in regard to navigating D2L for your online class. I won't read through the course description or the objectives. You can do that. Going to the next page, again, hitting on some highlights. Regarding contacting me, even though this is an online class, I'm here for you. I want to help you out, okay? I've been here. This is getting ready to start my 11th year as a full-time accounting instructor here at JCCC. I love teaching accounting. I love teaching at JCCC. I'm very happy to help you, okay? As I said, you need to check your email account regularly through D2L. If you want it forwarded, maybe you say, well, I don't check my email address at JCCC. Can you send all your emails to a different email, maybe a Gmail account or something? The answer in short is no. I'm not going to keep a big list of emails. I email everything through D2L. However, if you call JCCC Help Desk, they can walk you through how to forward your emails to that other email address that you prefer, and that maybe you check more often. So the JCCC Help Desk is 913-469-8500, extension 4357. They'll be happy to help you with that. All right? Email me through the D2L website. If you email me, I will respond to your email. If you don't get a response back, I want you to assume that I did not receive the email. Because every now and then somebody tries to say, oh, I've been emailing you all semester and I have not heard from you. Well, I would say now, did you get emails back? And they would have to say no, and I would say, well, then you had to assume that I did not get that information, okay? So email me and I will email you back. If you don't get that, then assume I didn't get it. And you know, every now and then I will miss an email. So if it's been 48 hours and I haven't responded, please just send me another email. Okay, I try to keep up on that stuff, but I do make mistakes occasionally. You can ask my wife, okay? One of the main questions is, how do I view this online course? Well, the easiest way to do this is by watching it on YouTube, okay? Now, you can come off that for a second, because this is very important. I am going to email you the URL that you need to get to these lectures, okay? You may or may not be able to go to YouTube and do a search for these. I would recommend that you use the URL I send you. And if you're watching this video, chances are to your right is you'll see all the videos that there are, okay? So you can just, access them that way. There's probably going to be at least 35 to 40 videos in total, okay? So you really need to be watching. If you're taking this in the fall semester or the spring semester, you need to be watching and doing about 3 or 4 lectures per week. If you are taking this class in the summer semester, which is only 8 weeks as compared to 16, you need to for sure be watching and doing 5 lectures a week. And I know that's a lot, but summers are a compressed time period and we have to teach the same amount of content. Also with the summer semester, you won't have near as much time between, you're going to have to take your tests on a pretty consistent basis, okay? You can't just take 3 or 4 days off while you study. You can kind of do that with fall and spring if you're timing things well, okay? But you really can't do it in the summer, all right? Now, whatever music you heard at the beginning of this lecture is the music that you should hear at the beginning of every lecture. If you hear different music, there's a good chance you're watching the wrong videos, okay? I have made a lot of videos for JCCC. So you may get on a different accounting class, one for semesters past, or an accounting one, and you'll see me, and you'll think I'm where I'm supposed to be, but if it's different music, you are not where you're supposed to be. So whatever music you hear at the beginning of this, you need to hear every time. Also, starting next lecture, you'll see some students, and if you see a different group of students during the semester, you've probably found the wrong videos. So be very cognizant of that. I say this every semester, and there's always somebody who watches the wrong lectures, okay? So pay attention to that music, please. Now, there used to be a time that people watched this class by checking out DVDs from the library or by using JCCC's cable TV channel. I don't know of anybody who does that anymore. I think now that screens are so much clearer and the resolution is better, everybody pretty much watches this on their computer via YouTube and online, okay? So, but if you want to do one of those other ways, you need to email me and let me know. But I think the best thing to do is to watch it via your computer. All right, let me take a look at my notes here. I've talked about the sequencing. This is lecture number 201. The next one you'll watch is 202, etc. Let's go to the next page. What should you have while viewing this lecture or these lectures? Well, you need to have your textbook, have a calculator, have your completed homework, and of course paper to take notes on, okay? Now again, you need to be disciplined, folks. Let me tell you the most common question that I get from my online students. Let me make a real important point to answer that question right now. People say, am I supposed to do this paper and pencil homework? Am I supposed to submit that, or how do I get that to you? Or do I email it to you, or what do I do? No, you never submit your paper and pencil homework to me, okay? Now let me be clear. When I talk about homework in this class, I am talking about paper and pencil homework. It's the stuff I assign during class or at the end of class. People do it in their textbooks in pencil and paper, and then the next class period we go over it. That is the paper and pencil homework. Whenever I talk about homework, that's what I'm talking about. Now, separate from all of that is the Connect assignments online, okay? I do not call that homework. I call those Connect assignments. That's different. That is when you are on a computer, you're submitting it online, you're getting immediate feedback. It is worth points in this class. You need to do that by the due dates listed on the D2L website. But as far as the paper and pencil homework, you do not submit your homework to me, okay? What does that mean? It means you have to be disciplined to do it even though I'm not asking you to submit it, okay? You guys know from Accounting 1 that you can't learn this stuff if you don't do your homework, okay? It's just nearly impossible. So you don't get a false sense of security saying, I'm not going to do my homework, he's not going to check, he's not going to know. Let me just watch him go over the answers on the next lecture, and I'm sure I'll understand it. And you might even get a false sense of security that says, I'm so glad I didn't do my homework, I can understand what he's doing. Well, it's one thing to watch me do something and it makes sense, and another thing when you come to JCCC Testing Center and you actually have to produce the answer. So you have to be disciplined in an online class. You have to do that homework, but you do not submit your homework to me, okay? Let's talk a little bit about tests and exams. Throughout the course of the semester, I'm going to have 3 exams, and they're worth 100 points each. And there's also a final exam, but it is not comprehensive, okay? What does that mean? That means it's not over the entire class. It is just over, well, I'll show you here in a second. So there's 3 exams and a final exam, okay? You are allowed as an online student to drop your lowest test score of the first 3 tests. Now you cannot drop or not take your final exam. You have to take it and it's going to count. But you get to drop your lowest test score of the first 3 tests, okay? I'm not saying I replace that test score. I'm saying I completely drop it. So whichever one you did worst on, I will get rid of it, okay? Now, as I said very clearly, all tests are to be taken on the JCCC campus in the JCCC Testing Center, which is the 3rd floor of the testing center. I have their phone number here, and I'm also going to show you, let's switch over to the computer real quick, okay? I'm not going to give you the hours of the JCCC Testing Center because they change every semester, all right? So if you go to www.jccc.edu, go up to this search box and put in Testing Center. And here it is, Testing Services. If you click on that, that takes you to this page. And I would recommend that you read through this page, okay? Their hours are right here. Those are subject to change. So I recommend that you always go look at that each semester. Okay? Don't make assumptions that they're open on certain days. Don't make assumptions that they're open at certain times. Okay? You can read through that if you would like, but that is where you have to go to take your exams. One policy I will tell you about, that they have signs everywhere in the JCCC Testing Center that you are not to bring your phone in to the exam. Okay? You need to go put it in a locker, just do it before you even go in. Okay, or leave it in the car. It doesn't matter if you turn it off. It doesn't matter if it's broken. It doesn't matter if you don't know how to use it. Do not have that phone on yourself, in your pocket, in your backpack, or anything. If you get caught with a phone in there, then you will be banned from using the JCCC Testing Center. Okay, there's just no excuses. So, there's probably literally 30 signs that say this, but you'd be surprised how many people take their phone in there and they go, I forgot it was in my pocket. Don't take your phone in there. Okay, they're really strict about that. Treat those folks nicely. They do a great job. They are a wonderful resource for JCCC, but they have certain policies and procedures that they have to follow. Okay? Don't not be aware of their hours and go, I tried to take the test today. I know this is the last day I can take it, but they were closed. It's your responsibility to go to that website and find out what their hours are, okay? And if they close at 8 p.m. on a certain day, you can't show up at 7:45 p.m. and expect to take the test. At 8 p.m. they close the doors and they make everybody leave. It's not like a restaurant where they let you finish your meal, okay? So you need to be aware of those JCCC testing hours, okay? Okay. Let's take a look at the due dates, all right? The due dates of test completion. Now, I have left these blank because I want to use this lecture for numerous semesters. But in the syllabus that you have for me, that actually has dates on it, okay? What I want you to notice is that test number 1 must be taken by the end of the day on, let's just make up a date. For example, January 20th. That does not mean you have to take the test on January 20th. That means you need to take it by the end of the day January 20th, okay? I always give you at least a 5-day window to take those exams. So that is not the due date so much for the test as the last day that you can take the exam. Does that make sense? I hope it does. Now, I will tell you what happens every semester. Again, let's use the example of January 20th as a due date. They could have taken the test January 15th, 16th, 17th, 18th, 19th. Now it's January 20th. They waited until the very last day, and guess what? They're sick, or their child is sick, or something, okay? And then they call me or they email me and they're all panicky. Oh, I know this is the last day to take the test and I'm not going to be able to do it. I don't want to be mean, but take a look what this says on the syllabus. For each day past the deadline stated above that you take your test, you have an extra 15 points subtracted from your score. And there's no exceptions to that. You might have a very, very legitimate reason, okay? I don't know why everybody always waits to the last day of that window to take their exam. But if you do that and you don't allow yourself any margin, no breathing room, then something could happen. You're not going to be able to do it. So I really encourage you not to wait till that last day. But if you do and you ended up taking it, for example, on January 21st, that'll be 15 extra points off your test. If you take it January 22nd, that's a total of 30 points. So don't be late. You need to be aware of those, okay? So these due dates will be clearly stated in your syllabus. I also clearly state them on the calendar section of D2L. So please be aware of that. There is the grading scale you can look at. I post test grades on D2L, okay? And I'll show you how to get to those when we do that navigation video. You do not get to keep your tests in this class. If you want to go over them, I'm happy to meet with you and do that. But you do not get your tests emailed to you or anything like that, because I do reuse a lot of the tests. But since I don't let you keep the tests that you take, I do have practice tests out there for you, and those are on the D2L website. Okay? Next page of highlights. If you have a student, if you're a student and have any disability or anything that the Student Access Center can be of assistance on, please call them, and they will be more than happy, okay, to help you out with that. All right. I also want to make you aware that JCCC has free accounting tutoring. I will email you the hours of that because, again, that changes each semester. So, but take advantage of that. It's a wonderful resource. You don't have to make an appointment. You can come and go as you'd like. It is a great thing. And then you might read this required stuff in regards to don't cheat in my class, no plagiarism or anything like that. Okay? Let me think if there's anything else I need to cover. Let me look at my notes real quick. We covered chapters 12 through 23 in this class. When you look at your syllabus, you receive points for things other than just taking the exams, taking the tests. I've already told you one of those things. You receive points for the Connect assignments that you'll do. There'll also be some other online things that you'll do to receive points, and that'll probably be through Connect as well. But that'll be specifically stated on your syllabus. Okay, so take a look through that whole syllabus. Like I said, sometimes people ask me questions and I can tell they didn't watch this video and they didn't watch the next video on navigating D2L for this course, and or they didn't read the syllabus. And so I'll just email you back and say, I covered this in that intro stuff. Please don't skip that. Please go watch that video. Now, if you've watched the videos and looked through your syllabus and you still have a question, by all means, contact me and let me help you out. But I know the questions that folks ask, and I try my best to address those in these videos so that you don't have to go to that effort. Okay? Let me look through my notes real quick. I am very glad you're taking this. My goal is that you will, if you want to, you will learn as much as the folks that are here face to face. Okay? It's entirely up to you if you're disciplined. Once again, the tests are taken in the JCCC Testing Center. I'm hitting the high points right now. When I talk of homework, it is paper and pencil homework. I do not ever collect it. You never submit it. Make sure the music is the same at the end of each, at the beginning of each lecture that you watch. And make sure the faces that you see are the same. Otherwise, you might be watching the wrong videos. All right? I think I have covered it all, and I'm glad you are in this class. And be sure to watch the video. It might be listed over there to the right, and I probably email that to you as well in regards to navigating D2L for this course. But other than that, I think that's it. Thanks for being a part of the class, and I will see you next lecture after you watch the D2L navigation lecture. Lecture number 202 and beyond, you'll see a whole classroom here of wonderful students who are taking the class just like you are. All right? Thanks a lot. We'll see you later. Bye-bye.